Start the timer. Hola. Que pasa, buenos dias. My name is Andre Norman, and this morning my idea that I'd like to share with the world and have it spread throughout the world is we need to reach into ourselves and inspire people. And there's a cohort of people that I personally work with on a daily basis. It's folks who are incarcerated. There are over 2 million people in our country locked up right now. And there's another 6 to 8 million on supervised probation and parole. That's 8 million people. And when you factor in their families, we're reaching at least 20 to 30 million people that are affected by the criminal justice system, not counting employees and their families, which would easily take it to 50 million people. That's a large segment of our population that is directly connected to the criminal justice society. And in that problem and in that situation, every year, 600,000 felons are released back into society. And of that 600,000, 70% reoffend. Why should we fix the American prison system? Was my challenge. Why should you even care? You live in a nice suburb west of here. And in that, you're insulated. It's not your issue. They're criminals. They should be that. But the 70% of people who reoffend, when I do math, 70% of 600,000 is roughly 400,000 people. That is 400,000 new victims. People who will be raped, people who will be robbed, people who will be beaten, unfortunately people who will be murdered. Because while we had this cohort inside, we did nothing. We sat in our suburb, we sat in our boardroom, and we said, not us. If you're not concerned about the individual who's currently incarcerated, that's fine. But as people of this society, can we be concerned about the innocent victim that is yet to come, that we know is coming? Because in most instances, criminals don't break into other criminals' homes. It's just not a good science. There's not that much there. I mean, so you want to come into a nice home and vandalize them. So if I could sit you down for 30 seconds with somebody who's going to be a victim in 5 years, from someone who's going to be released in 2, and they say, well, will you help me? Can you tell them it doesn't matter? Can you tell them it's not my issue? And that them could easily be a loved one or a relative. And we see it on the news daily. The issue of incarceration is real. And unless we, as a society, do something about it, it will not get better on its own. We've quadrupled the size of prisons in the last 10 to 20 years. I did an assessment in California. They brought me to California, the land of gang members, and said, Andre, can you fix LA? So I spent about a week and a half in LA driving around, interviewing and meeting people. And at the end, I said, yes, we can fix LA. But only when the suburbs of LA decide that the treatment inside of LA is no longer tolerable. Because the people inside don't make the rules. They just survive within the rules. And when they had the riots of LA, you see when they warden and they wall off where you cannot go, destroy within there, but not over here because these are taxpayers. These are the people that matter. When the people that matter decide that what's happening to the people that don't matter is no longer acceptable, then it will change. Because if not, the police's job and society's job is to manage the problem and protect the people who matter. And in my life, I believe we all matter. What qualifies me to speak on this work? How do I understand this work? I grew up in a domestic violence situation where my mom routinely was beat by dad. I've had relatives and siblings who are addicted to crack and other drugs. I've had my father walk out of the home and never return. And the lesson that I learned is simple. It's okay to hit people. I watched my mother be hit, so you can be hit. Kids threw rocks at me and called me a nigger on a bus in Boston when I used to ride home from school because some federal judge signed a law to make the world a better place. But nobody told me on the way home from school there'd be 20 kids with rocks and names waiting for me. What I learned from that? I better protect myself. And thirdly, when my father left, I learned a real simple thing. I don't have to explain myself to anybody. And I took these lessons into life. I don't have to explain myself, I better protect myself, and I can hit people. I'm not good at school, single mom in the city. We can do the CNN story if you like to. It ends up, Andre's not good in school. I end up in prison. When I get to prison, now what? When I get off the bus in prison, I get 2 handbooks. The institution says, this is the rules that you must follow. And I get the rules, and they read me the riot act about how I should behave, how I should comport myself. Then when I get into the housing unit, the gang leader says, you can throw that in the trash. Here's another rule book. We run this place. And they give me a list of what they want done. Now, if I don't follow the institutional rule, I might get a telephone restriction or visit restriction. If I don't follow the prisoner's rules, I might get raped or murdered. So needless to say, I'm not listening to the institution because they're not going to protect me when 8 guys show up to stab me tonight. They're not going to protect me when 10 guys show up to rape me tonight. So I'm going to listen to the man who's controlling the knives and the rapist. And whatever he says is a good idea to me. So he thinks I should join his gang, it's a great idea to me. He thinks I should sell drugs in here, it's a great idea to me. He thinks I should beat up another prisoner, it's a great idea to me. Go to school, stupid, I agree 100%. And the institution's like, why are you not listening to us? We have your best interest at heart, but you don't have control of the guy who controls his prison. Prisoners govern the prison. And until we remove that and give it back to the hands of the people who actually own the prison, we're always going to have dysfunction created. You have the worst of society teaching its young to be the worst. And you're going to continue to get a 70% recidivism rate. While I'm inside, they say, well, what's the big deal with this gang thing? If you take an institution with 2,000 prisoners and make 50% of them drug addicts, which is a really small number, that is 1,000 drug addicts. A bag of heroin would cost $50 in prison. So if I can sell each prisoner who's an addict 1 bag of heroin, that is $50,000 in drug sales in 1 day. Times 7 is 350,000, times 30 is 1.4 million. The gangs are not fighting over colors. And that's just heroin. Throw in cocaine, throw in gambling, throw in prostitution, then throw in extortion. It is a multi-million-dollar business being run by the prisoners. There is no incentive for reform. There is no incentive for education. There is no incentive for anything. And how do I get the young to stay connected and committed to me? As soon as you come in, and I know you're vulnerable, I know you're scared, I'm going to have you commit a violent act against another group, and we're going to support you in that. And once you do that, and you really don't have a choice, now you're committed and locked in, because if you don't stay with us, they're definitely going to get you now. And your life is in control of me. I dictate what you do. I dictate what you don't do. And I am, in this instance, one of the worst society has to offer. And as I'm sure you stated, people go to jail and they learn new skill sets that are not beneficial to anybody. And I will say this, 95% of people who are inside are coming back. At some point, we were at 1 million. I attended a study at Harvard. It was a conference. They were like, well, when we broke the 2 million barrier, Harvard had a conference about what are we doing and where are we going. Next, we'll hit the 3 million barrier. Where does it stop? Where does it end? And if we're forward-thinking people in the greatest country on the planet, why can't we solve this one problem? We have people combined, held in one place for multiple years and decades. Why can't we change their thinking? Nobody is born bad. Once upon a time, the worst of criminals was a cute 2-year-old crawling on somebody's floor. It was learned behavior that took them to the place of violence. It was trauma set in their life that took them to a place of violence, which we have in our system, prisons to deal with those folks who can't comport themselves. And prisons are needed. But until we decide to address the people inside, you can go live in the suburbs. How much further can you run? It's not safe to come into the city. How much longer before it's not safe to come out of your house? What kind of society are we moving towards? My solution and my idea is to actually reformat the prison system and make it work. If we can take the people who are inside and make it work, then the 70% will diminish, that 2 million will diminish, and it'll be safe to bring your kids to the park. It'll be safe to come downtown and participate in just regular daily functions. But it's not until we look at the prison as a whole and say, what is the problem? The problem right now, in short, the prisoners, the worst of the world, govern. How do we take that governance from them and transfer it to people of righteous thinking? Currently, if 10 of you went to prison right now in this room, they stick you all in one place, and then the people who've been in the longest would dominate. If we create a system where it's not based on maximum, supermax, and medium segregation, it's based on how much time do you have. Well, this man has 15 years, this man has 10, this man has 8, this man has life. They should all not be in the same place. And currently, they are all in the same place. If you're doing 5 years, 15, or life, they stick you together. What gives me the power to dominate a prison? What gives me the power is I've been left in this one building for the last 12 years. And over the last 12 years, I've amassed an army, which you would call a gang. I've developed relationships with the staff because they have to deal and live with me as well. And in that time and in that frame, I've taken over this space. And only because I can sit here for so long can I take dominion over this space. In the system that I like to create, if you come in at 20 and every 3 years, you move the people according to their time structure and move them down through the system. You come in at 20, we have a prison for people who are from 20 to 17. When you hit 17 years, you move to another prison, from 17 to 14. Then you move down, and you create an assessment when a person first comes in. You find out what are their educational needs, what are their psychological needs, what are their mental health needs, what are their substance abuse needs, and you create a chart to deal with that. And right now, if you go to prison A and you sign up for GED, it's a great thing. But when you get moved to prison B, you have to start all over again. Your records just don't transfer, everything you don't pick up where you left off. And right now, the class assignment, the DOC would argue with me, the class assignments are only dictated by prisoners. Because I tell the principal how many seats I need. And he's going to tell me, sure. Now, why would a government official listen to me? One quick story. I walked into the kitchen at a maximum security prison to get a sandwich. I walked in, I told the guys, make me a hamburger. And the food service administrator came out, he said, hey, who are you? What are you doing in my kitchen? You don't work here. I said, I'm hungry. He said, but I'm the food service administrator. I got all these wonderful degrees. I run this. This is my kitchen. Who are you? I said, I'm the regulator. He says, what do you regulate? If you go home or not? I said, I'm doing 20 years. I can kill you right now. They'll take me, segregation, 7 to 10 years, and I'll be back in his kitchen having a hamburger 10 years from now. You'll still be dead. And your wife will miss you, your kids will miss you. I don't have a wife or kids, so it doesn't matter to me. So if you've noticed, I've walked through 3 locked doors to get here. Everybody's doing what I tell them to do. So we can either die over this hamburger, or we can live and let me eat. How do you want to do this? I said, I don't really want to be a mean guy. I just want something to eat. He looked over to the kitchen staff and said, make him 2. And every time I came through that kitchen, he understood, listen, this man can kill me. And what does he have to lose? Nothing. Where's he going to go? No place. He's already at the end of the world. If we create a system that doesn't allow people to just stack up on top of each other and sit idle in one institution or a set of institutions for multiple years with no activity, no intervention, no people. If we stop that and create a system where people interact, where people from society interject their thoughts of what should be happening, we need your involvement. Because minus your involvement is really bad as we see now. You have to take action. Well, Andrea, how did you go from third-ranking prisoner in the state? I've been convicted twice of attempted murder in prison because that's what they taught me in prison. It's okay to murder people. How did you go from that to lecturing at Harvard? Well, one day I had an intervention and I decided I didn't want to be in prison. I wanted to do something different. Then people from the outside came in. I had an Orthodox Jewish rabbi mentor me. I had 2 nuns from the Catholic Church mentor me. And they didn't care that I was black. They didn't care that I was uneducated and I was violent. They just taught me. And they put a system together within a crazy system to walk me through. And I went from 2 convictions of attempted murder, with an additional 10 years added to my sentence, to a functioning person. They got me into counseling, which was already available, but I didn't see the value in it. They got me into education, but I didn't see the value in it. Simply because you put something in the institution doesn't mean the person can recognize its purpose and its value. And if there's a big 6'4" guy with a knife saying that's not a cool thing to do, then that's really not going to happen. I was able to, within a crazy system, find sanity. And the sanity came from people like yourselves. My Orthodox Jewish rabbi knows nothing about being black or the hood. He was a willing teacher, I was a willing student. And the two produced results. And when I came home, my goal was simple, to reach back and make it better for others. I've started with local kids in the inner city, and I found out that they don't control the inner city. You do. The people watching this telecast have the ability to make a difference. And you don't have to put yourself in harm's way. You just have to sit down and be willing to come up with a solution that is completely viable. People often tell me, Andre, it's fantastic what's happened to you. We're so proud that you've made it this far and you're able to do these things. I do trainings in Australia. I've been to Sweden. I've been to Haiti. I've been to Dominican Republic. I've been to LA. I've been to East St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis. I've been all over the world now. And I bring a message of how to make change. Not just a message, but we can do action steps, practical action steps, concrete steps on how to make change. But it's always been done with partnerships. We have 2 million people inside, and those 2 million people have kids. Most people want to be like their parents when they grow up. George Bush Sr. had a son named W. So he wanted to be like Dad, and it worked. So if George W. Bush can be president, I'll be damned if one of my kids can't be something different. I used to give a speech. I respect him as president, and I like what he's done. He wasn't the brightest guy ever. He wasn't the most forward-thinking guy ever, but he simply followed the course of his father, and it led him to a wonderful place. We have children in detention who are following the steps of their father to an awful place. We know the model. We know the system. Are you willing to sit down and create the solution? The plan is not hard. It's just the time that we need from you to make this happen. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your efforts. And if there's ever anything that I can do to make a difference, I will. But the last thing I'll say is my time has elapsed. If I can come out of prison after 14 years and lecture at Harvard, at London Business School, and do trainings around the world, what can you do? Thank you.